You, come here. This podcast, Her Agency, is for you if you are tired of playing small. You're tired of being overworked and underpaid. You're tired of not having a community that pours into you and validates your lived experience. And you are ready to own your agency and make this year your best year. That's what we're here for. Her Agency Collective. Pull up. I know. You were just passed over for the promotion. You didn't get the raise. Bob was promoted before you. You feel like you're in a space where you cannot do the thing that they tell you to always do. Bring your full self to work. Girl, I know, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. This year, we are no longer playing small. This is your chance to find community and own your agency. Pull up with us at Her Agency Collective, where we can provide community, mentorship, sponsorship, and have the real conversations on how to get the promotion, how to get the job, how to get the money, and get to the bag. Her Agency. See you there. Welcome to Her Agency, the podcast. I'm your host, Brandi Rand. This is a space curated for Black women in advertising who are bold enough to pick up the pen, write the brief, take up space, and own their agency. To me, agency means owning your power, completely being in control of the next 3 to 5 years of your career, saying no to the toxic work environment where you are tolerated and not appreciated, moving to a different part of the country if that's where all the job opportunities are, not raising your hand for the extra assignment that's not leading you down the path of the promotion that you want to go. It means taking your PTO. It looks like extending your maternity leave if you feel your body and your mind are not ready to go back and be 100% present. It means making the decision to advocate for yourself in every area of your career. Oftentimes as women, we say that we should raise our hand for the extra role so we can be seen, speak up to get visibility, but what's the point in speaking up if you're not adding to the conversation? But then also on the flip side, what's the point of shrinking yourself and playing small if you have value to add? So agency really comes down to being strategic about the moves that you make in corporate and understanding at the end of the day, no is a full sentence and you can use it when you're ready. The word agency really hit home for me. There's been so many times. There was a time when I came back from maternity leave and my role wasn't there. Well, it was there, but I was asked to train the newbie who ultimately was put in position to take my role. When I left, there was very much an environment of like, yes, go be a mom, have your kid, come back, everything will be here as it was. And that, in fact, wasn't the truth. That's the only job after a series of events. It wasn't just encapsulated in returning from maternity leave, but that's the only job I quit on the spot. They called a meeting in the morning and I was just like, you know what? It's not you, it's me. And what I mean by me is I don't feel safe here. I don't feel like I fit in here. I don't feel like my voice is valued here. Gotta go. So when we talk about pivotal moments, that's definitely one. Another one of owning my agency is doubling down and keeping an employee on staff who many didn't really jive with. I'm a big proponent of meeting people where they are and hitting that sweet spot of understanding how you learn, how you need to be communicated to, and how we can collaborate. I'm really good at pulling that out of people and creating environments where they can thrive. So I was really empowered. Of course, this was at a more leadership level. We don't always have the agency or the autonomy to make calls about who we hire, who we fire, and who stays on and who doesn't. But at this juncture in my career, I had that power. And I used that power to keep somebody on staff. And they're thriving still in advertising, still at the same company that I hired them in at. And so I'm just proud of that moment. That's definitely a pivotal moment where I owned my agency and I kept someone around who really wasn't a fan favorite for the collective, but blossomed to be. He just needed the time and the chance. Maybe the last one is just my newest endeavor. Here we are with Her Agency, a platform that I'm super proud of and creating a space to have what I wish was around when I was coming up in the agency. So what this really looks like for me now is creating a safe space for Black women in advertising specifically. And I want to be very clear about that. Black women in advertising to have a space where they can be seen, collaborate, build community, share their lived experience, but then also figure out a way to thrive in advertising instead of doing what we often do, which is just survive. I've touched a lot on what agency means to me from a professional context. I want to dig into what it means for me personally as well. And hopefully this resonates with my audience. But agency also means deciding to take the time out to start a family or not. Often women are pressured into, sticking it out, waiting longer, and digging into your career to get that promotion, to get that job, to get that salary before we're comfortable enough to begin to have conversations of starting a family. No, sis, have the baby when you're ready. If the time is right for you to start a family, go off and get married, take time off to take care of your critically ill parent like I did. I took 2 years away from my career to take care of my dad, who was, at the time, rest his soul, battling brain cancer, stage 4, when we found it. It was a big deal to step away, but I knew that on one hand, I was responsible as the oldest daughter to take that action, but then also what would that look like for my career? But there comes a fork in the road where career doesn't matter. And you have to be okay with whatever comes next. You have to know that your steps are ordered. So when we talk about taking agency, for me, that's another way on a personal level of what it looks like. Other ways on a personal front of what agency looks like for me maybe is putting your foot down about being off at 5 o'clock. Like, look, I'm a boy mom. We do all the things. I have 2 under 10, and they each play 4 sports, each. So we're talking about, if it's not a practice, it's a game. If it's not a game, it's a tournament. So mama needs to be away. Now, what I won't do is compromise my work. What that looks like is clocking in early or clocking out early and then getting back on at 8 o'clock. Time enough to get them in the bed or get them to the game or get them to the activity. But that's another way where I see women kind of shrinking and compromising. And then often what that would turn into is resentment. At the end of the day, you're not happy, you're not spending time with the kids. There's a stat that I recently read. It's jarring, but it's beautiful. And it's something about like 97% of the time your kids are going to spend with you is between the age of when they're born up to 12, 13. But that's often the times when we're grinding as women in corporate, right? You're not going to get that time back. So that's another way that we can say no as a full sentence, own our time, block off the time on the calendar to take a lunch, to walk around the block, to get some sun on your face, to touch grass, go ground yourself and put your feet in the grass. Whatever it looks like for you to not necessarily find balance, but create some sense of harmony in your career and personal life so that you can show up fully on both ends of the spectrum. Pain points that women experience when they don't actually take agency, it manifests itself in a number of different ways. We either bring a staleness to our work or a level of disinterest where our colleagues, the people that depend on us, our clients, can see that, something's changed, something shifted. But ultimately, typically, it's the environment that we work on that's affecting that. Sometimes it's on the reverse. Sometimes it's your personal life at home. Just a new change or a challenge that you're going through. Someone in your family gets sick, someone gets laid off. There's so many variables that we all live in this human experience that impact both sides of the spectrum, whether it's our work life or our personal life. So I just want women to be more mindful about the decisions that they make and understanding the ripple effect that they have. So yes, it might feel hard and painful to make that decision now and stand your ground and be 10 toes down about what you believe and how you feel. But you'll feel so much better in the long run, staying in your conviction and holding your agency when you make that decision. Her Agency, the podcast, is for you because you are tired of being overlooked, overworked, underbooked, and underpaid. It's time for you to stand up for yourself, pull up the seat at the table. If that's a folding chair, sis, it's a folding chair. But be at the table and use your voice. When I say use your voice, don't just be in the room. Make sure that you have something of value to add to the conversation and that people see and hear your presence. You're tired of being hired in at a role that's lower than what you've established. Don't settle. Be like Bob is what I tell my mentors. Who's Bob? Bob is the mediocre white guy who applies for the role that they are less than 50% qualified for that lands it. Why does he land it? because he came in with conviction and a sense of ownership and agency about himself that he could do the job. That's what you need to start doing. And that's some of the conversations that we're having here at Her Agency, the pod. Her Agency Collective and the podcast are super necessary. Why? Because not only are we all living a similar experience of being in systemically toxic work environments, but we're also understanding that community is necessary. Just as women, community is really what fuels us. It gives us the ability to feel seen and feel valued and say, you know what, I'm not alone. I spent about a year and a half, close to 2 years, leading the business resource group at my last agency. It was called Onyx, and it was for the Black employee group. What I quickly learned is that in all of my efforts to create joy and bring us together and create community, there was oftentimes stories of the same lived experience of, oh, I didn't get this promotion, but my counterpart that did less on the project or year over year did. Or, oh, I don't feel like I can comfortably go to this happy hour because of comments that have been said to me in the boardroom earlier that day. Or, oh, I don't know if I should invest time in raising my hand for this project because I'll just get passed up for the raise like I did the 2 years before. These are all just small examples, but they're many, and they're the same every time that I hear them, that I was like, let me create a space where I can impact advertising from the outside in. I've done 17 years in the game. I've lived a lot of these experiences. I've gone through a lot of these things, being micromanaged, having social media posts reviewed that had nothing to do with the person who called me to task about it. We are getting to a point where we have to understand our value, and we have to stop settling, and we have to lock arms with others who are going through the same thing as we are to know that we can go further together. And the conversation that I might want to have about pay rates and promotions and how I can ultimately secure a mentor or a sponsor. I want to know what you're going through. I want to be able to talk to you and see how you pulled that off so that I can go and do the same thing. But not only can I go and do the same thing, I can reach back and help somebody else do the same thing behind me. So that's really what the whole purpose and passion behind Her Agency, the podcast, and the collective is to create that safe space to center Black women in advertising so we can thrive and not survive. Some things that I know now that I wish I knew sooner in my advertising career. It's a list, so strap in or grab the drink. The first one is knowing that once you get to the room, everyone in the room is not as good as they claim to be or even better than you. You deserve to be in your room. If you were called or your name was spoken or you feel like you need to walk into the room, you need to walk into the room with your chest high like you are supposed to be there because in fact, sis, you are. The second thing that I think I learned later on in my career that I wish I knew at the beginning is don't say yes to everything. If it doesn't align to your strategic plan and the goals for your career, you don't have to do it. We're often told to raise your hand for the extra curriculars and invest in the ERGs and the BRGs or lead this book club or go lead this parent group. If you have the passion to do that, by all means, go ahead. But if you don't have the bandwidth, you're already in an environment that doesn't value you for the actual work you get paid to do, you don't have to raise your hand and sign up for the extra thing. So that's something I definitely wish I knew before. Something else that's still a pain in my ass is the fact that industry organizations, some are creating platforms and some are creating communities. There's a big difference. Some people start things to have a voice, be seen, get more speaking engagements, but aren't necessarily giving back and pulling up. The impetus between I have experienced what we have experienced and how we got here today for me is because I raised my hand and I signed up for a lot of those organizations. And while it felt good and warm and fuzzy at the beginning, I quickly realized this is not a space that's actually building community or advancing the collective or pouring into me as a Black woman or person in advertising. So here we are with Her Agency, with the goal and the hope and the purpose to do exactly the opposite of that. Create a community where you can be valued, seen, and iron sharpens iron. So come and lock arms with us. Black women in advertising deserve respect. You probably were expecting a more bold or unique word, but at the bottom line, we deserve respect. We deserve respect when we walk in the room. when we apply for the role, when we reach out to ask for a mentor and a sponsor, when we say that, we're not getting paid equitably. All of these opportunities are ways where we can have more respect, and we deserve more respect. A moment when things really changed for me in my career is when I was approached by a recruiter for a very high level opportunity. It came by way of LinkedIn, just posting my experiences, conferences, or experience with clients, or just experience in the industry, and just telling my story. And I checked my inbox one day and had outreach from someone that was like, yes, we want you for this role. Let's talk. When can we get on your calendar? And that's when I knew the power of telling your story. Had I not been posting, had I not been sharing my experiences, had I not been expressing how much I love this industry and I'm passionate about the work that I do, I might not have been on their radar. Nobody gave them my name. I did come up in a search, but I came up. And so that's the importance of showing up in different ways, whether it's partnering with agency organizations, going to industry events, leveraging social media, building a network. At some point, somebody's going to see what you're doing, somebody's going to hear your voice, and somebody's going to call your name in a room and call you up. Stop having someone's decision bring you into a realization. The realization of what? That you are no longer needed at the company, A, and B, you have nowhere to go because you haven't built bridges, you haven't built a network, and you haven't put yourself out in spaces like social media, specifically LinkedIn, or at conferences to build the net to catch you for the fall. We all have career transitions. There's going to come a day for all of us where it's just not a good fit, whether it's a decision that you make or that someone else makes. So I implore you, start building your personal brand. Leverage your network. Showcase the work that you're doing. If you're traveling for shoots and for productions, post that. We need to see you. We need to hear you. It does a few things. It creates a nice and solid foundation for people to understand exactly what you bring to the table and how badass you are. It also lets other girls see that it's possible. If we see you doing the work, I'll be more inclined to be like, oh, that's an industry or an opportunity or an agency position for me. So please start building your personal brand and build the boat before you have to use it. Listen, I know what they told you. From every stage at every conference, every BRG meeting, find a mentor, find a sponsor, create your personal board of directors. And yes, I've even said it, and I'm all for it, and I know the impact that it truly makes when you find one. However, I do know that not every leader has the capacity to be that for you. They've never had a sponsor. They've never had a mentor. They've never mentored, or they've never sponsored. It's important to have people that you can look to and talk to talk about the pay raise negotiation, to see if you need to move around in the industry and find a different place to lay your hat and to be great. But at the end of the day, don't feel bad if you're hearing from the main stage and from all these leaders that you need a thing and the thing that you need can't be found. That's why I've created the space for Her Agency. You might not know this, but oftentimes your best sponsors, mentors are your peers. The girl next to you doing the same work at the same time, maybe even in the same place, where you guys can share stories, connect, build community, and help each other. You never know who has the ability to speak your name in a room, but it doesn't always have to be someone very senior to you. It could be somebody to your left or to your right. Take a look at what we have at Her Agency Collective. Are you a Black girl in advertising? If so, we've created the most amazing space just for you. If you are ready to thrive and not just survive in this male-dominated space, if you want to lock arms, build community and culture with others that look like you, join Her Agency The Collective, a place where we're having real conversations, doing the work, building our brands, taking up space, and owning our agency. See you there.